Across the cold reach of space, the world of Lear was ruled by Baron Hai, a figure polished by power and fear. His rule prized bloodline, yet shame followed his household after the birth of a fragile daughter named Mera. When signs of weakness appeared, the Baron chose legacy over kin. He ordered the infant cast beyond the shielded city, into the wild glass plains. Servants obeyed in silence. They believed death would erase disgrace. Instead fate bent, and the abandoned child breathed beneath a burning sky as storms whispered ancient promises of survival and quiet fury waiting to rise. The plains hid secrets older than the city walls. Creatures of light roamed, and one found the crying child. It was not gentle mercy that saved her, but a relic buried beneath the sand. The relic held a human mind, a man named Evan, lost during a failed crossing centuries earlier. His form was gone, yet his will endured. When Myra touched the relic, 2 lives joined. Breath steadied. Eyes opened. Pact formed without speech between guardian and child, blending memory, resolve, pain, hope, and a long hunger for justice against cruelty and cold pride that shaped tyrants everywhere. Evan remembered Earth, a distant blue promise, and the cruelty of chance. He had been a pilot, curious and stubborn, drawn by the unknown. His ship shattered near Lear, and his mind was captured by the relic network. Time blurred. Isolation sharpened him. Now bound to Myra, he felt warmth again. He sensed her fear and strength. Together they learned balance. Evan guided thought. Myra guided movement. The child grew, body and mind woven through shared purpose, patient practice, and a vow to endure until the truth of her birth could be faced without tears, shame, or silence, ever again. Years passed beyond the city gaze. Myra survived storms and beasts, learning the land with quiet grace. Evan taught her words of stars, engines, and ethics. He spoke of choice and cost. She listened. The bond deepened into trust. When Myra turned 12, they approached the city edge. Shields hummed like judgment. Evan urged caution. Myra felt resolve harden. She would return, not as a beggar, but as proof of failure. The city gates watched from towers, their sensors blind to courage, history, and the quiet storm rising within a child shaped by abandonment, patience, learning, and shared human will. Inside Lear, Marine Howell prepared a celebration of lineage. He praised strength and purity before the council. The daughter was erased from record. Yet whispers moved through servants who remembered the order. When Myra crossed the shield, alarms sang. Guards advanced. Evan calmed her breath. He guided posture, stance, and voice. Myra spoke truth without tremor. She named her birth. Shock rippled. Hale stared, seeing his own eyes. Denial cracked. Authority wavered under witness from counselors, citizens, and watchers who sensed a lie breaking apart, revealing cruelty, cowardice, and a legacy built upon fear, not honor, justice, or care ever. Hale ordered arrest. Energy nets flew. Evan redirected Myra with precise timing. She moved like wind over stone. The relic amplified her strength within limits learned through restraint. Guards fell without lasting harm. The council gasped. Myra refused violence beyond necessity. She demanded hearing. Evan projected memories through the relic, not as attack, but as record. The order to abandon played clear. Silence crushed the hall. Hale shouted excuses. The law required judgment. The people leaned forward, choosing between fear, habit, and the truth carried by a child who survived neglect, exile, and chance, guided by human resolve and calm. The verdict stripped Hale of title and command. Exile replaced execution, reflecting Mira de Mera, de measured justice. She refused to mirror cruelty. Evan approved, reminding her that mercy can wound pride deeper than blades. Hale left the city alone, watched by those he once ruled. Mira declined nobility. She asked for reforms. Foundlings would be protected. Orders would be recorded. Power would answer to law. The council agreed, fearing unrest, yet moved by example that blended courage, memory, and a future shaped by accountability, learning and shared humanity, not bloodline, fear, or brittle pride alone again within Lear or beyond. Time settled. Myra trained as mediator, explorer, and guardian. Evan remained within, quieter now, offering counsel when asked. The relic no longer felt like a cage. It felt like companionship. Lear changed. Trade opened. Education widened. Children learned history honestly. Mira traveled beyond the plains, carrying proof that survival could become service. Stories spread of a girl who returned without hatred. Evan listened to the stars through her eyes. Content to help a world grow gentler through patience, reason, and the simple courage of choosing better paths after great wrongs, taught by loss, care, and shared resolve to protect others. Yet Evan's purpose remained unfinished. He had lived as witness, but wished release. Myra felt the weight of goodbye. Together they sought the relic core beneath Lear. Engineers listened, trusting her record. A chamber opened. Evan prepared transfer of knowledge to archives. He spoke of Earth, mistakes, and hope. Myra thanked him as kin. The bond loosened. Evan faded into data and light. Mira stood alone, stronger for having shared. Not consumed, another soul within her, carrying lessons of restraint, justice, humility, and the power of human choice, even across stars, time, loss, and fear, shaping tomorrow, quietly, steadily onward. In later years, children asked Mira about monsters and heroes. She spoke of systems, choices, and care. She refused statues. She funded shelters. She walked the plains where she once cried. The sky felt warmer. Lear remembered. Hale faded into obscurity, a cautionary tale. Mira aged with calm resolve. When her life closed, the city held silence, then promise. Humanity, through one man and one child, had shown a way forward without conquest by valuing truth, mercy, and accountability, teaching that strength grows when power listens, learns, and serves, rather than ruling through fear, pride, and neglect alone, always forever. Records later named the era renewal. Trade lanes brightened. Conflict eased as councils copied Lear reforms. Myra advised quietly, traveling less. She preferred gardens and schools. Children laughed freely. Evan's legacy lived in curricula and safeguards. The relic network was limited. Consent required. Exploration resumed with ethics taught. When storms struck outer towns, aid arrived swiftly. People learned interdependence. The plains bloomed with resilient life. Lear no longer hid its past. It studied it honestly through archives, memorials, and open forums where pain could speak, heal, and guide wiser futures grounded in care, balance, and shared responsibility together forward united. Mira wrote no memoir. Others did. They described a child shaped by abandonment who chose repair. They described a human mind that refused domination. H.F.Y. Taley's traveled star to star, not as boast, but as lesson. Strength lay in restraint. Victory lay in reform. The story warned rulers who prized image over duty. It comforted children cast aside. It urged courage without cruelty. Across space, listeners nodded, seeing themselves. and choosing better paths through empathy, memory, and shared resolve, honoring those who endure loss. Learn and rise, without erasing others, building futures worth living fairer, calmer, brighter together, always ahead. At the city edge, a small marker stood where Mira first crossed the shield. It bore no names. It bore a sentence about care and choice. Travelers paused. Some wept, some smiled. The plains remained vast, yet welcoming. Winds carried seeds. Children played near the glass fields. Lear thrived through humility. The memory of exile transformed into vigilance. Systems improved. People paid attention. The lesson endured, quiet yet firm, across generations because survival alone was not enough. Meaning grew from care, law, and shared watchfulness, preventing neglect, abuse, and fear returning ever again within or beyond the city walls forever. Myra's final years were simple. She taught, listened, and learned. She never claimed perfection. She welcomed correction. Councils valued dissent. Records were public. Children grew confident. When Myra passed, the relic network dimmed respectfully. A festival followed, focused on service. People volunteered. Aid ships launched. Gardens expanded. Lear remembered the abandoned child who returned to heal, guided by a human voice that chose humanity over rule, compassion over pride, and wisdom over vengeance, showing strength through care, patience, and justice, shaping futures kinder, steadier, and free together across time's stars. Cultures, borders, fears, losses, and hope, renewed, shared, enduring always. The barren tale faded into footnotes. What endured was the method. Identify harm, record truth, reform systems, protect the vulnerable, invite oversight, share power. These steps traveled widely. Worlds adapted them. Conflicts cooled. Exploration resumed with care. FY meant something gentler here. Not domination, but responsibility. Not conquest, but repair. The story of Myra and Evan became a compass, pointing away from cruelty, toward shared futures built by choice guided by humility, evidence, and care, reminding all that power answers to people. Law and memory, preventing neglect, abuse, and silence from ruling again anywhere ever across world stars, times ahead. Long after, a young traveler asked why the marker lacked names. A guide replied that names can distract from lessons. The lesson was simple. Care is strength. Choice matters. Records protect. Mercy reforms. The traveler nodded, carrying the idea onward. Ships crossed safely. Councils listened better. Children slept secure. The plains glowed at dusk. Somewhere, Dada sang softly. Evan rest W.